Yeah, I'm standing on the flame. City in sight. Platform rising high. I am ignited the night. Fire on my feet. Spark in the air. City on fire. But I am standing right there. Yeah, it's the city on fire. From the ground and up, I'm living it off slow. From all around me, watch it glow. A dark suit and cool hat, coming as a voice. City burning in a bright y'all, but I'm bringing the noise. A platform is arising now. I'm holding my ground, smoking in the sky, y'all. No fear, no frown. A flaming, moving wild, like a dancing in the beat. But I am control. I got the fire at my feet. A city on fire, flaming, burning bright. Standing on the platform, lighting up the night. Smoking in the air, sparking flying high. But I'm standing tall, y'all, let the world pass by. From the top of the flame, y'all, rising at my arm. Let the flame take a flight, y'all. Fire rising in a spin, smoking curling and up, like a dragon of breath, I told ya. But I ain't afraid, they ain't gonna let her in yet. The city light is a freaking hey. They dancing with me, y'all. A flaming rising high, like a wave in the sea, yeah. A power in my hand, standing in the heat, yeah. Like it's just a phrase. A platform is arising. I am the king of night, y'all. Fire all around, but I'm bringing it bright, y'all. Standing proud, I'm living up in like a fairy share. From the chocolate to the coming, from the darkest light, the platform rising, take a flight, city burning, but I'm still here. I told y'all, holding my ground, y'all. I got nothing to fear, yeah. City fire.
City on fire. It was a night when the city seemed to hold its breath. The skyline glowed softly against the darkening sky, the lights flickering like stars caught in the mist. Smoke curled lazily from the tops of buildings, adding a haze that made everything look surreal, like a dream balancing on the edge of a nightmare. And at the heart of it all, on a platform covered in fire, stood Mr. Happiness, a figure of calm amidst the chaos. He wore a sleek, dark suit that shimmered in the light of the flames, and a hat tipped low over his eyes, casting a shadow across his face. The platform was scorched, the metal blackened and twisted, but he stood tall, unbothered by the heat that surrounded him. Flames licked around the edges, reaching out like wild, hungry hands, but they never touched him. It was as if he was in command of the fire, as if the flames were his to control. Behind him, the city stretched out, a maze of skyscrapers and streets that pulsed with light. But tonight, the city wasn't at peace. Small fires dotted the landscape, flickering in the distance, and smoke rose in thin, dark columns, like silent cries for help. It was a city on the brink, a place where chaos and calm battled for control. And in the midst of it, Mr. Happiness stood, unyielding, like a lighthouse in a storm. He raised his arms slowly, and as he did, the flames around the platform began to move. They didn't just flicker, they danced. The fire curled and swirled, forming patterns that twisted around him, almost as if they were alive. Sparks flew, drifting up into the night like glowing fireflies, and for a moment, it was as if the entire city was breathing with him, moving to the rhythm of the fire's dance. Mr. Happiness tipped his hat slightly, his eyes glinting in the light. He wasn't just standing on that platform, he was commanding it, controlling the fire that burned beneath his feet. With a subtle gesture, he guided the flames, shaping them into figures that danced, their movements graceful and fluid. It was a surreal sight, watching the fire turn into something beautiful, something almost serene, despite the chaos around it. As the flames danced, the city in the background seemed to react. The lights flickered, blinking on and off, as if the buildings themselves were trying to keep up with the rhythm of the fire. Mr. Happiness watched it all with a calm, knowing expression, his stance steady, his movements deliberate. He was in control, and the city was his stage. Suddenly, the platform began to rise, lifting him above the streets, higher and higher, until he was overlooking the entire city. The fire grew brighter, forming a pillar of light that shot up into the sky, cutting through the darkness. From his vantage point, he could see everything: the burning streets, the buildings, the smoke, and the people looking up, their faces illuminated by the glow. The higher the platform rose, the more the city came into view. Mr. Happiness could see the fires burning in the distance, the dark patches of smoke that dotted the skyline, but he didn't look down in despair. Instead, he saw possibility. He saw a city that could rise from the ashes, a place that could be reborn, and he knew he had the power to make it happen. With a sweep of his arm, the flames around the platform exploded outward, spreading across the sky like a wave of light. The fire didn't consume, it transformed. It wasn't destruction, it was rebirth. The smoke cleared, revealing the city's buildings standing tall and proud, their lights shining brighter than before. It was as if the fire had burned away the darkness, leaving only light behind. Mr. Happiness stood at the center of it all, his eyes fixed on the horizon. The ring of fire around him pulsed softly, a living, breathing thing that responded to his presence. As he lowered his arms, the flames began to settle, but the light remained, casting a warm, golden glow over the entire city. It was a moment of peace, a moment of calm after the storm. But he wasn't done yet. With a slow, deliberate motion, Mr. Happiness raised his hands again, and the fire around him began to dance once more. This time, it didn't stay confined to the platform. The flames spread out, moving through the air like tendrils of light, connecting the buildings, the streets, and the people. It was a web of fire, a network of glowing lines that brought the city together, knitting it into a single unified whole. The people below watched in awe, their eyes wide, their faces glowing in the light. They could feel the warmth, the energy, the hope that flowed through the flames. It wasn't just fire, it was life, pulsing through the veins of the city, giving it a new heartbeat. And at the center of it all, guiding the flames, was Mr. Happiness, a figure of strength and serenity. As the night wore on, the flames began to fade, leaving behind a trail of light that lingered in the air, like the glow of a distant star. The city was still, but it was no longer dark. The fires that had once threatened to consume it had been tamed, turned into something beautiful, something powerful. And as the dawn began to break, casting a soft, pale light over the skyline, the city felt renewed, as if it had been given a second chance. Mr. Happiness stood on the now cool platform, his hands lowered, his hat tilted down over his eyes. He had done what he came to do. The city on fire was no longer a place of fear and chaos. It was a place of light, of unity, of hope. And as the first rays of sunlight touched the buildings, he turned and walked away, disappearing into the fading glow, leaving behind a city that was ready to rise. The end.